Hi, good evening. My name is Manchella. I am currently a data manager at PNC Financial Services. I've been working in the bank for the past 10 years, and I had a quite journey in PNC. I joined like an SQL developer, and then I became an architect, and then I moved into data science, trying to set up the Hadoop cluster, and then eventually moved into Agile Analytics department. So the next 30 minutes, I will walk you through the journey of PNC's establishment of Analytic Competency Center. And then Jim will continue on how we made progress reverse engineering SAS code to Python code on an operational loss forecast model. So it all started in 2015. In 2015, what happened was they took some of the dangerously enough data analysts and made a team called Enterprise Data Management. So it was headed by CDO, Chief Data Officer. They created this whole department. And I'll talk about where we sit in the bank, because that's also very important to know the success of our team. And then under CDO, we have the demand management to know what kind of needs the company has. And then the data science, which is the Cloudera, Hadoop, and the Teradata clusters. And then the Agile Analytics team, which I belong to. And in the Agile Analytics, we are a SaaS shop to begin with in PNC. So we have a SaaS Analytics department and an open source analytics department. And I am managing the open source analytics. And then we have data governance and data quality. So in 2015, our main goal was to convince the upper management on why do we need open source analytics. The number one reason at that time was, well, it's cheap, because we are paying tons and tons of money on SAS development, which is a SAS grid. So we definitely won that point that it is cheaper, and the performance is good, the debugging is very good, and the other important thing is we can attract new talent, because the universities are producing these kids who learn Python and R. So these are some of the points that we have leveraged to convince the senior management. And at that time, many banks were embracing this strategy of getting into open source. So we even used that, like you see now, JP Morgan, Capital One, they all also are quite successful in the open source analytics platforms. So by the end of 2015, we got the funding, we got the project charter approved, and we did a POC with Continuum Analytics and Cloudera Data Science Workbench, and also the Domino Data Labs. So we considered these three vendors, and obviously Continuum Analytics at the time, the name was, they were chosen. And the proof of concept we did was on real estate residential data. So it's, again, financial industry, so it's all banking related stuff. And it was varied data. We didn't have big data, but it was medium and variety of data. Some third-party sources, some Excel sheets, some Teradata files, some Oracle files. So we were able to take all the data, load it into the Hadoop environment, and then connect the Python to the Hadoop, and then showed the results. It's simple Python code. And then the strategic vendor alignment, right? So Continuum and Anaconda, they've decided to work together, and we have the Anaconda Continuum parcels into Anaconda edge nodes, and we started a small analytic environment at that time. So in our bank, we call it as PAE, like you read it there, Python Analytics Environment. So Python Analytics Environment is nothing but the Anaconda repository and the Anaconda Enterprise notebooks. So AER and AEN together is our PAE. So with that, there is a nice collaboration of all the projects, and you can connect to all these 4 data sources that are mentioned here. Hadoop, Teradata, Oracle, and SQL Server, the ODBC connections. And we do have an R kernel also, but Python is widely used so far, and we do have R users in our environment. And this is the basic blueprint diagram at a very, 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 very high level diagram. So as you see, we have 4 compute nodes. They are edge nodes. And you can connect to Teradata and you can connect to Hadoop. And they are connected to Continuum repository. And you can access them either through the notebooks or through the notebook gateway. This is what we started out with, and even now we do have the same architecture. It's just the power has increased. At this time, we had only 8 cores and 64 GB RAM and I think 500 MB storage. This is what we were in 2016. And then by the end of 2016, we have put up the 3 environments, the UAT environment, UAT or development environment, the QA environment, and the production environment in September, October, and November. And while we were setting up these environments, we started the training and development at the same time. So we had a trainer from Anaconda come to PNC, and he did some jumpstart demos, which were mostly WebEx. So we would give like 1 hour how to open how to go to a browser. This is all browser based. You just get authenticated through your LDAP. You just go in and just type a hello world program, and that's how you do things in Python. It was 1.5 hour WebEx per every team we did, and that was very well received. And then we did instructor-led program training for a couple days. One day is just pure Python, and the other day is a little bit more on Spark and how to connect to other data sources and do more data analysis. We started out with 70 subscriptions from Anaconda. Right now we have around 400 plus users, very enthusiastic users. They are not like dull users sitting and not doing much. We have very enthusiastic users currently right now around 400 or so. And we also do some lunch and learn sessions and some of the customized Python training just for that particular user. So suppose if it is a fraud analytics team, we would just do like an hour or couple hours just for the team on how to do HBase and how to use Python and things like that. So and then after 6 months, because the Python, we needed more power, so we doubled everything. We made it 16 cores. Now we have 128 GB RAM and we have 800 GB storage. So we have technically increased the power of it. And we started doing PySpark and Sparkly R. And in the bank, most users, around 80% of them, use Spark through PAE environment. Again, PAE is our PNC's Python analytic environment. So that's what we did in entire 2016. And now in 2017, which is last year, with that good success that we got in the initial 2 years, so we tried to set up a competency center. So a competency center has, from our humble experience, you need these 5 things to consider. The first thing is the community. We need a very exciting and contributing community who shares things in there. It has to be very open and non-judgmental place where everybody likes to collaborate. And then training, of course. We need to train the, like the Java developers or train the SQL developers into Python, or even the people who are already using Python on how to use which model, when to use which library, when to use, things like that. And then help and support. We used to get a lot of calls on that, and the enhancements and the package management. Of course, package management is the heart. We'll talk about that as well. So for the training, because I said these 5, let's take one thing at a time. So now we'll focus on the training part of it. So training, I would suggest just go and get DataCamp licenses. That's what we did. We bought 100 DataCamp licenses. And how we did is that's what this swim lane diagram is doing is, in PNC we have something called PNC University. So we bought 100 licenses through PNC University, and whichever LOB users would want some seats, we would charge them back. So already we paid through PNC University, the SOW is done, the payment is made, but we would charge back. So then the LOB users wouldn't feel the excruciating pain of writing an SOW, getting the training. And DataCamp is really a good training website. Number one, it's cheap. Number 2 is there is a very good gamification. So you can produce very nice result, dashboards and reports for your senior management, who is the active person taking the course and how many courses they completed, which track they are in. And it's very, very easily maintainable. So I would highly recommend getting a DataCamp license. And they do have slabs. If you use 100 seats, there's a slab. If you use 500 seats, there's another slab. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we do use PNC, like my team. Jim will be talking after me on this operational loss forecast model. So he also does training, customize it to the particular team people. We usually have around 12 to 15 people in the training class, and we teach related to the PNC data. Usually when you go to YouTube, when you go to DataCamp, when you go to any other places, they usually bring taxi cab data, or they bring airplane data, or they bring weather data, right? So, but when we do, we usually bring in PNC data, and then we do it so people can relate to it and think I'm not selling the product. And then we do offer some self-study videos, like which our team has made, how to use our own ecosystem and be successful in your projects. Oh, we also did lunch and learns. In PNC, we use Bitbucket, which is the milder version of Git, and udeploy. So we are integrated very well with the PNC ecosystem. That's one thing I would highly recommend, that when we bring in a product, it has to nicely merge with whatever ecosystem that we have in. And then the community. So we need to have a very good, exciting community. This is IBM Connections page. This is like our Facebook in our bank. So we make this a very exciting page. We have blogs, we have a forum, we have files. We make people come here, comment, like stuff, and add their own experiences in it. And whoever does, I try to give them some extra points and encourage them to come here and collaborate. So I highly recommend that having a place like this where people know who else is in the community. And that also actually predicted me for the V5 upgrade this year that we are planning to do, because there are 600 users following this community. So that suggested me that, okay, I have a huge appetite for 2018 and 2019, what I want to do in the Python environment. I wouldn't take too much time on this. This is very, if you are from banking industry or a very restrictive environment, you might understand a little bit. But if not, then you can skip this. But what this slide is saying is, so because we are in a banking environment, every single record is so secretive. We can't just use anything on the sandbox environment. Everything is very customer sensitive data. So what we do is we have a platform mnemonic and an application mnemonic. So because Python analytic environment is a platform, so on that we built an application mnemonic, which is OAL, Open Source Analytic Lab. So that's where we bring all the production data, not just the testing data, but the modelers get the production data in the production environment, in a lab environment. So that will like really get the feel that, oh, I'm using the real data and not a test data. And the BDP is our big data platform, and the Teradata databases, it's just showing how you can connect from PAE to all these other sources. So now I'll take a moment and explain one of the success factors that I believe that happened for us is where we are located in the team, in the bank. We are not IT department. We definitely belong in business, but we are not, again, the LOB users. We are something called enterprise data management funded by the business. So if anybody is wanting to have an analytics competency center, or I strongly believe you need to have a buy-in or you need to convince your business sponsors with this. Otherwise, without their buy-in, it's not easy to get the success. I don't know how much you can read all this, but the middle part is what we are, enterprise data management. And the other three are the lines of defense, because it's a banking environment. We have first line of defense, second line of defense, and third line of defense. And then we have a huge thing called third-party vendor management. We need to go through them for so many approvals. And then we have our technology team, and then we have the RCSA team, which will assess the risk control assessments. So because we are situated in risk management team, it is so easy for us to think in risk terms. I think that was a huge success because I could clearly see what the legal and cybersecurity or enterprise architecture, they will pose me the difficult times. Okay, so this is just explaining the 3 lines of business. We are in the second line of business. So because we are in the second line of defense, we can always support the first line of defense by giving them whatever they want and yet challenge the auditors as well. So that's the reason we are in the middle of these 3 lines of defense, and that is the reason we got the business buy-in. So I feel that's a very important thing to take away. If you can't see the diagram completely, so these are all the risk components in PNC, and the green is what we are on the enterprise data management. So now the other most important and favorite subject for Python and data scientists is the package management. So we had a long journey for these packages. Currently we have around 1,200 packages in our Python analytic environment. And every day I get at least 3 or 4 requests, and I need this library, and I need that library. So this entire library thing has been a journey, and we are still trying to put controls and follow a process and nail it out. So how far we went through is, so we created a SharePoint form. Anybody in the bank who wants a library, they need to fill that form. So that form pretty much has who are you, which team do you belong in? Do you do data visualizations? Do you do model management? Are you in customer sentiment? So you have to fill, or you are in IT department, you need to fill that form. And then you need to write, of course, which library you want. Or do you need for regulatory reporting? Or do you need for your own reporting? Or you need for research and development? Or is it a model development? And then the justification, why you need this particular package or a library. Because for model risk, they will ask me, like, suppose this particular package is supposed to do ABC, and did the modeler use it for the same reason, or did he get more creative and used it for EFG or something like that? So there is a form that they need to fill up, and then it comes to my team. This is the Visio diagram for that, how the entire package onboarding is being vetted. And then it comes to my team, and then we review against the 1,100 packages that we have. Why do you need the other one? Can't you use the existing ones? And if you can use, we will try to explain to them, no, I only want that, like children. I only want that app that I don't have. So like that. And then it goes through the enterprise architecture and cybersecurity and legal. So I submit a request for that, and then it goes through a 2-week SLA for that. And then once when that's approved, then it comes to our UAT environment. Currently we don't mirror CondaForge. We do have Anaconda repository mirrored, but not the CondaForge. But CondaForge is a green channel. If anybody of you have attended yesterday Duane's package governance, so we screen every library by library. Yes, I need this library. No, I don't need this library. And that's how we bring from CondaForge. If you have more questions on package onboarding, we can talk later, or if you have more ideas for me, I would love to hear that from you. And then, so this year, so it's been a very nice, beautiful journey with Anaconda for us in PNC, and this year, 2 things we wanted to do. We wanted to upgrade to V5. V5 is, I'll get back to the slide 1 second. So V5, all the V5 features, we are so eager to have the V5, the one-click deployment, because we have some models written in Python, and our modelers are so eager to deploy that. And we want to have our own bouquet application running, and the collaboration on how we can share it with the LOB users and even the regulators, and of course the security and governance. With the growing needs of our team, what I have done is bucketed the needs of the users and created a portal. So this portal is being launched, I think tomorrow, if I'm not wrong. So what this does is, this gives like a shopping cart experience. We have created a small portal in the bank. Anybody who wants these services, the consulting services is the straight up reverse engineering. Hey, I have some SAS code. Can you please change it to Python for me? And I have the subject matter expert with me. He will help you on how to reverse engineer that. And we have done that. That's what Jim will show you in the next 5 minutes. And then the training services. Hey, and my team, like I said, we don't know where to start, how to start. Can you help our team? So that's the training services, which I've started with DataCamp, and we are slowly making it customized for our own bank. And then the project work. Project work is little bit advanced users. They know what they want, but they're stuck at little small pieces. So they call us and they ask us, and then according to that project work, we engage our team in that. And then the enhancement requests. Enhancement requests can be the enhancement that we are going through the V5, or it can be package onboarding, or it can be like object storage, it can be Dask, it can be GPU, whatever they want, I need that. So once when I get a use case, because I am in the business team, once I get the use case, then I can put the request and get the funding and then get to Anaconda for the SOW. So that's what I was trying to tell is because I am in the business side, I feel that's a very good advantage to start the ACC. And this is our timeline for this year, how we want to install the V5. And of course, we are looking into GPU cluster as well, how to have our own GPU cluster because it works in the heterogeneous environment. So that the other will be in the regular, and then one with GPU. We'll see how that will work out. And we also want to do the PAE desktop support as well. So this is our journey on how we set up the Analytics Competency Center. I'll request Jim to walk through the use cases that we have, that we are still working on and what we have done last year to take us from here. Thank you.
So yeah, as Ann said, I'd like to take you through some of the use cases that have come up. She didn't brag enough because she must have done something really right. Our user base has grown explosively over the past year and a half. And so what I'm going to do here is focus mostly on the use cases that I believe are on a little more unexpected side than we thought was coming down the pike. But you know, we have a lot of departments across the bank that have come on board with this. Obviously, retail lending and asset management, those are the people that are making the models that predict losses and protect the bank and try to help price things. They're on board. They were on board from the beginning. MIS, they're also making applications in Python to help the bank operations. They're, of course, going to be on board as well. Marketing came in and with their market basket analyses and pricing analyses, and they were expected too. Now, HR was a little bit of a surprise, but of course, they have metrics, and they want to process them and report them as well. So when they came to us, we were glad to have them on board. And one of the things we really wanted to make sure that we did was bring on model risk management early so that they're empowered to kind of influence how we grow this environment, because they're going to have to validate the models that are made on this. And open source models in the regulatory community is still a little bit dubious to the regulators. I don't know if any of you had that experience too. But so all across the bank, we're seeing departments come on board. Now, we do a lot of collaboration. We're a big bank. We span multiple states. I'm in Ohio. Ann is in Pittsburgh. We have people in Chicago and all over the East Coast, basically. When we have consultants come on board, this could span international borders. Our resources are centralized, but the support network, the ACC, my department, our technology partners, they're distributed. So Anaconda has been essential in collaborating because the developers do need to work on centralized code bases together, but from different locations. So we were able to take advantage of all of this through Anaconda, and Enterprise 5.0 will make that even more easy. So we're doing all of the modeling that you would expect a bank to do, right? We're making machine learning models. We're doing PD, LGD, EAD, all of that you would expect. But as I said, a number of use cases have emerged that we were glad to see come on board because they've really kind of helped us provide more than we originally expected. So the first thing that came up was doing traditional Monte Carlo through this Hadoop cluster we have. So you can do, obviously, the PySpark and big data analysis that you would expect. But what we wanted to do was create this, this deterministic computation in individual cases, send all these huge number of cases out to the Hadoop cluster, let them run, and then aggregate the results back on our PAE. And the Python threading module has made that very easy and smooth. So a lot of applications in banking lend themselves to Monte Carlo. But in this case, for our first study, we went to operational risk because that's a very good application of Monte Carlo. So what we did was we took our event level data from our historical losses, and we created this loss distribution through the traditional Monte Carlo techniques. And we noticed up front that the two factors that impact performance are going to be the number of simulations and the size of the data set. Now, those are the nominal values for the existing model, which was implemented in SAS and run on a SAS grid. So we're going to compare our PySpark implementation to the SAS implementation. Okay? And we're going to vary the data set size only. We varied the simulation numbers only, and then we varied the two of them at the same time to get kind of a full factorial analysis. And we got a lot of good data back from our Hadoop analytics. It's kind of an eye chart, I apologize. But as you can see, our SAE, our SAS analytics environment, got times that we expected to see based on historical results with that model, but the Hadoop time was significantly less. Now, to be fair to SAS, this is not an apples-to-apples comparison of the technologies because all things are not equal between the two systems, but these are the systems that we had available. So the question was, which one will give us better performance without a significant capital upgrade? And as you can see, using Hadoop is going to do that for us. So in summary of that, we did an analysis on the data. We saw that the run times increase linearly if we vary just one factor, quadratically if we vary just two factors for SAS. Now with the PySpark, the Hadoop side, that really depended on the number of containers that were available. So it's highly variable and subject to the amount of usage on the cluster. But we also have a lot of control over that. We can command that a certain number of containers are deployed for that particular task if we want to. And as you can see, a container is 2 cores and 20 gigabytes of RAM. Now, one additional use case that has come up a lot, either directly in the case of one user, but also if I read the requirements from other users, is this need to publish output from the PAE directly into SharePoint. So we have data stored all over the place. We have code files on these different edge nodes. We have collaboration. We're using Spark from yet another cluster of servers. Things can get scattered all over the place in all different formats. And so our solution was that why not just organize everything on these SharePoint sites so that it's accessible to anybody, any stakeholder that needs to get a hold of that output. We have the existing infrastructure. That's obviously not a direct pipe. It's through our system. But simply use the SharePoint REST API and the appropriate Python package. And when you create your output, you have it right there on a SharePoint site. We have people wanting to create data tables, aggregated results, interactive bouquet plots, which, by the way, work great if you just upload the HTML file to SharePoint. All those can be put there automatically. They're accessible to technical and non-technical users, so a manager can go and look at the output. And if these models are deployed and automated, then the results are just there for you when you walk in the next day. We do a lot of sharing. We'll link or put an embedded link into our IBM Connections site to show people how to do these things or what we've produced on SharePoint. So that's a nice, easy way to disseminate your information as well. So in terms of applications, a lot of people want to do automated reporting. They're monitoring metrics, particularly like validated models have to have ongoing performance monitoring. This is a great application for that. Like I said, both the technical users and managers who may not be technical, but they still need to make use of the output for decisions, they can access this equally easily. And then for archiving and documentation, SharePoint's a very valuable tool, already being used for that. Now, Ann talked a little bit about the re-engineering of this operational loss model. I've already shown you how we do the Monte Carlo side of that. The reason that they came to us to re-engineer this model was because of the belief that, well, proprietary languages, in this case SAS, come with licensing and contracting and all kinds of costs, training costs as well, because, well, open source languages are maybe taught in college, but SAS typically is not. So you bring on a new hire and you have to ramp them up in the language of SAS. So to save money, we go to open source, because open source is free, right? Yeah, okay, not free, but we do have more control over the costs. So in that case, we leverage the open source languages that are growing in use. I mean, this is an outdated plot, but all of you probably saw in the keynote, one of the keynotes, this growing trend for Python and some for R as well. As you can see, Python has taken over R since this plot has been made. So we're trying to see, everything we've seen so far has shown us that we're going to see reduced costs and reduced development time and a lot more flexibility. Now, when I say reduced development time, one of the metrics we tracked in this project is lines of code. If you have to write fewer lines of code, it's simply going to take you less time to do it. And that's up front. If labor is your biggest cost, then your developers, who are hopefully very well compensated, are not going to spend as much time on this model, and you're going to get it out in deployment a lot sooner. And that is going to give you a lot of savings as well. Now, taking this from the other side, the bank has a long history with SAS. We have SAS grids in place. We've spent a lot of money on the infrastructure, a lot of models deployed in SAS right now, and we have a lot of SAS developers. So the bottom line is that SAS is not going anywhere anytime soon. We might as well make as much use of that as we can. And that's where SASPI comes in, because SAS is in good favor with the regulators, and SASPI lets Python developers make use of the SAS technology, but they don't necessarily have to know SAS very well to do it. They can write Python code that gets run on the SAS grid as SAS code. Every so often, something happens that makes you realize that you have to monitor things or track things that you didn't expect to. We all have our problems every company has its problems, and the best that you can do is make use of what you've got when you realize that one happens. So in light of recent events, we're trying to make sure we're on top of customer complaints to detect if we are having anybody out there with pushy sales tactics or opening accounts. And so we've developed this pipeline to use natural language processing on customer complaint data and see if we can monitor this and prevent that from happening to us. Where the ACC comes in is in these represent and classify areas of the pipeline, because that's where the Python technology is going to be leveraged. By represent, I mean text embedding. And that means we're going to use some of these. There's a whole variety of algorithms and packages out there that you can use, but what we're essentially doing is just taking the text data and the relationships that give it meaning and converting those into numerical features that can be input into these algorithms. And once they're there, we then can use the classification algorithms. Again, there's plenty of them that can be used to get the analysis that we want and see if we can detect these things. Now, XGBoost right now looks like it's going to be the top performer of the classifiers for this application, but we're open to all of them. Along this line of language processing, we do, as a bank, we have a lot of textual information stored as PDFs, which represent loan applications. Now, this is a situation where you have the same information in the same location on a document that can be OCR'd, mined, and put into a digital storage format, standardized. That makes it very automatable and makes me think of this, one of my favorite quotes from John von Neumann, basically saying that don't tell me a machine can't do something. If you can tell me the precise set of steps to do, then I can eventually make a machine that will do it. So let's let the machines do it, because data entry has a lot of costs associated to it. It's time-consuming, manual, prone to error, and we still need to keep the humans in the loop, because yeah, we make more errors, but machines, they make errors too. So we have to monitor that. But this will save a lot of time and money in the translation of applications into a digital storage. Now, Ann talked a little bit about dashboards. Bokeh has great dashboards. There's dashboard technology out there for Python and R. But Tableau is still the preferred visualization platform for our enterprise. And it's not going anywhere either. But fortunately, there is TabPy, which lets us leverage our Python environment and our data that's stored, but still make use of Tableau to make great dashboards and replace those summary fields with dynamically created fields from Python code and give us more timely updates and better, more functional dashboards. So I'm going to gloss over these slides. We've talked a lot about GPU this week. We're going to use them too. We're no different, and these are some key areas that we would like to make use of GPU computing. And we expect there to be a lot of performance improvements that we see from that. We have challenges with GPU implementation like anyone else. They're technical challenges, but we expect to have them up and running this year. And again, we're mainly focused. We have some public domain metrics here, but we've seen some better ones this week. This is just from the Higgs data set. But really, we're expecting to see the most gain from the training of models, because that's where you're really going to see that boost. If you have a model that runs in 4 hours and you reduce it to 3 hours and it runs overnight, that's not really a benefit to the manager who's waiting on the data. But if the developer spends less time training it to get it out there, then that's a big savings. Okay. And then I've touched a little bit about this before, but reporting and metrics are absolutely key in our organization, probably every organization. But we specifically in financial institutions, we have governance and we have compliance issues that we have to make sure that we adhere to. And then you always want to monitor your performance. So if we can create good reporting metrics and reporting analysis, we can really help the bank constantly improve. The Six Sigma black belt in me loves this, so I love that they came to us with that. But the main departments that have come on board with this are HR. They have a whole slew of performance metrics for employees and policies that they want to monitor and report on. And then risk management, our organization, they have a lot. That's a big deal right there, especially with model monitoring and key performance indicators that they want to stay on top of. And going from a basis where somebody compiles a report from an analysis to just the report's there as part of the analysis will be a big boon for our operations. So, and that is our last use case that I wanted to talk about. So if Ann, you want to come up here, and if anybody has any questions, then we can answer them.